Therefore, the eNaira is Nigeria's CBDC.
eNaira.
eNaira. The eNaira.
eNaira. The eNaira.
Here is the president of Nigeria with the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. This was released when Nigeria became the first African country to launch their digital currency, or CBDC, the central bank digital currencies, which is the eNaira. What happened next? The eNaira did launch, but with not so great ratings. There was a lot of 1-star ratings on the Play Store, and the app was eventually taken down. However, that's not the whole picture. When we think about the CBN, and mostly when news articles write about the CBN, we see this face. This is the face of Dr. Godwin Emefiele, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. We were privileged enough to speak to the deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Thank you, Fisayo. There are two ways I can answer that question. First is there is a global trend to looking at central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs.
Everything is digitizing. Almost everything that we do.
That was Imran Khan, the head of partnerships at Bitt Inc. Quick editor's note, guys. Bitt Inc. is the technical partner on the eNaira project with the CBN. This means that the CBN is Bitt Inc.'s client, and Bitt Inc. is the one building the technology behind the eNaira for the CBN. All right, let's get back to the video. If you're a Nigerian or Nigerian in diaspora, you probably have a sense of what transpired and might want to stick around until the end of this video to find out everything that's going on. In this video, I share all of the key elements of the eNaira after reading this up. This is the 27-page documentation, or the design paper for the eNaira. I read every single page, and I'm going to be referencing this from time to time within this video as well. I also went through the entire eNaira website. I went through news articles, fake news, and a lot of stuff, and I used the app in my previous video, which you can watch with the link in the description below. But before that, in this video, it's quite interesting what is about to happen or not happen in Nigeria, and I'd like to share a couple of things that you should know. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. I'd love it if you could hit that like button so more people can benefit from the analysis that we're about to share here. Before we begin, I'd like to preface this video by saying that this video isn't sponsored or powered by the CBN or Bitt Inc. This is right from weeks of research from my studio right here to you on YouTube. These views are mine, and those of CBN and Bitt Inc. are their views as well. So without further ado, let's get to the video. Before we talk about the advantages and disadvantages of the eNaira, if you haven't, do watch part 1 of this series where I review the actual eNaira app for personal use and merchant or business use. I have that linked in the description below, as I said before, or with the card right up above. Right now, let's analyze this 27-page design paper document. And what does the document say? You just touch on it for a few minutes. Exactly what does it talk about? And why does the CBN even want to create the eNaira? The document firstly highlights the fact that the central bank's role in any country, apart from providing money, is a safe and efficient payment system. And beyond that, they are meant to provide some form of stability in the financial space of a country. And while doing all of that, they need to even adapt to new technologies. And the eNaira is that thing for Nigeria that is adapting new technologies. It is built on a distributed ledger technology, or DLT, or as we know it, blockchain, which is technology that was introduced, or should I say popularized, by Bitcoin. So Bitcoin popularized the blockchain, and another name for the blockchain is the distributed ledger technology, or DLT, and that is what allows for transparent and secure transactions that you can't tamper with, and one that creates trust when the parties have no reason to trust each other. This is what makes the eNaira not copyable. The document then states that the Central Bank of Nigeria has been thinking about the eNaira since 2017, and also states the fact that one eNaira will be equal to one naira. That is a one-to-one exchange. Another premise was that many central banks in the world have been, in fact, thinking of CBDCs, or central bank digital currencies. These countries and central banks include, the US, the European Central Bank, or ECB. China already has its own, and worldwide the usage of cash has become lower and lower, while digital payments keep exploding. Yes, this is true all over the world. Digital payments in Nigeria has exploded in just 3 years to almost 163 trillion. In 2017, digital payments were around 60 trillion naira, or $145 billion, with the adjusted rate for inflation. Digital payments in Nigeria have exploded in just 3 years to almost 163 trillion, or 306, almost $400 billion in 2020. You can clearly see the upward trend. We can't even imagine what 2021's numbers will look like by the end of this year. Okay, let's come to the present. Nigeria Nigeria is now the first African country to launch a central bank digital currency. But what does the CBN want to achieve exactly with all this?
There is a global trend to looking at central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs as the acronym goes. So what are these three big trends? The use of cash is reducing drastically around the world. And while people may find this too hard to believe, it's also the same in Nigeria. There's an explosion in the digital economy. So when you look at Nigeria today, in say 20 years ago, you would not mention companies like, say, Jumia, Konga, Wakanow,
and many
all
fintechs.
And many fintechs, that are doing really well in the country. So that digital economy, or the internet-based economy, has also exploded. The third global trend is the fact that private people have also started creating their own monies, which we call cryptocurrencies. Of course, many central banks don't like it, rightly so, because of the opacity of the system and the avowed objective of cryptocurrency creators to not want to be regulated. And if you are a regulator, you don't want anybody saying that.
Well, technically, there's resiliency. And in some central banks, some markets, resiliency of payment systems is one of their key reasons why they want to go towards central bank digital currencies. There is more and more reliance on the private sector to provide payment infrastructure and payment solutions on the market. And central banks, governments, the whole public sector is thinking, well, we used to run this, and are we okay with letting the private sector do this, as opposed to having a government, which is really about ensuring the public good, regardless of profitability. So technologically, there's great advances this way through resiliencies.
While this is all well and good, unfortunately, cash is still king in Nigeria. Cash usage has grown, according to the design paper, an average of 7% per year in the past decade or 10 years, despite the push for cashless policies. To put it in context, it has grown from around 1.5 trillion naira to around 3 trillion naira from 2010 to 2020. The CBN, commercial banks, and many fintechs have helped made efforts to help with the drive towards cashless policy, either directly or indirectly. The CBN did this by directly creating licenses for fintech companies or people who want to innovate or provide financial services at different levels, essentially with different responsibility tiers, so that it will be easy for them. And in fact, we do have one of the most advanced financial systems in the world, thanks to companies like the NIBS or the Nigerian Interbank Settlement System. This is why, now in more recent times, when you send money via your banking app or from any registered bank in Nigeria, you get it in an instant. You get it within a few minutes and sometimes seconds. This wasn't possible before, and it isn't even possible in many so-called developed countries.
CBDC is a global thing. It's not a Nigerian thing. The last count is that we have about 96% of central banks around the world looking at or studying some forms of digital currency. Wow. So for Nigeria, we are already the global leader, one of the global leaders in payment system infrastructure.
Yes.
I know we are not first in many things, but in this, we are really, truly a global leader in it.
When the CBN made the eNaira, what they had in mind was to empower the nation, reduce poverty, and enable financial inclusion, grow cross-border trade, improve our foreign exchange position, and improve monetary policy and financial stability policies. Let's talk about all these advantages for a bit before we go into some of the concerns or disadvantages.
We felt that a digital currency can actually help to engender financial inclusion, pull people out from the shadows. We know that there are estimates that our informal economy could be up to 30% of the formal one. So we believe that it could help us with improved remittances. We believe that it could help even in tax collection because of the contactless way that it works.
The first thing we're tackling is financial inclusion. On the point of financial inclusion, Nigeria has 38 million people, or 36% of the adult population in Nigeria, who have bank accounts. That's about 2 in every 10 people who are adults in Nigeria that have bank accounts. Initially, like I mentioned, only a few people who have bank accounts could create eNaira accounts or eNaira wallets. But now all you need is your your normal email address with your BVN, and you can move up with your KYC data to get improved account limits. Also, when people can open their eNaira account with only a phone number, they would certainly include more people into the financial system.
Well, financial inclusion is one of the primary goals of the Central Bank Digital Currency Initiative in Nigeria. This first launch, as you know, is limited to the banked users. But I see no benefit in having just the unbanked onboarded because they need to have the full ecosystem. So what we're doing now is we're building that ecosystem. We're testing out the system and incorporating the functionality that's needed to actually go and expand it to further the user segments. The central bank digital currency will be a means for those that are financially excluded to actually have access to digital money in a cost-effective manner that has rapid payments and that is not provided by a private market participant that is driven by profit, but rather through the central bank, ensuring that those that are financially excluded have access to money and have access to the welfare and social benefits that they are eligible for.
Speaking of, I'm sure you've heard that two of the major telecom companies, MTN and Airtel, have an approval in principle, to be payment service banks. Think of an approval in principle like a pre-approval or just a legal disclaimer that, hey, you guys aren't fully 100% approved though. So MTN has Momo or mobile money and Airtel has Smart Cash. This way people can access banking services with just their phone number, which more people have than bank accounts. People have more phone numbers than bank accounts. This is sort of a better way to include more people financially. I'll leave a link to an article from Steers Business that explains this in much clearer terms. So eventually, if the eNaira moves to like the USSD stage, this is something that can ease this process. Taking this concept of financial inclusion as far as the eNaira, think of a situation where the government also wants to get direct and effective implementation of social transfer programs. If you remember, in the US last year, many people received checks directly to their accounts. It was called the stimulus payments or the stimulus checks. With the eNaira, it would certainly be much more effective in that it would reach everyone it says it will reach. It will be done on a blockchain, albeit a private blockchain.
We believe that the government can use it over time to do targeted welfare, disbursement. So rather than looking for accounts and all that, we already have your wallet ID, that is distributed.
This is what will give rise to things like sector-specific tokens, which is like a digital currency for a specific purpose.
The answer is yes. For thinking about that, as I mentioned, if you're able to create sector-specific tokens, you really do increase the accountability of government welfare programs, but also its effectiveness. Just imagine that we're able to create tokens that are only usable for the purpose for which it was designed. Say the government wants to encourage people to go into farming and want to give out fertilizers, and you create tokens that can only be used to buy fertilizers. Nobody will steal those tokens.
On this channel, I've spoken about how remittances are one of the key earners for Nigeria, key earners of foreign exchange. According to the IMF, again, we are among the key remittance destinations in sub-Saharan Africa. Within this eNaira paper, we can see that Nigeria's remittance receipt was around $24 billion in 2019, or 23.8 billion to be exact, mostly through international money transfer operators like Western Union, who charges like 1 to 5%. Wait. I'm trying to imagine a scenario where I'm Western Union, for instance, collecting 1% of 24 billion. That is $240 million in 1 year alone for 1% charge. God, when? If it was 5%, it would be $1.2 billion. Thankfully, it's not only Western Union that receives all that money. There are many other services. You see how large these transfer fees are, right? This is definitely one reason why cryptocurrency sort of blew up in Nigeria and why a lot of people were resorting to it because, the low fees of cryptocurrencies were attractive. Even when you transfer a large sum of money, it's typical to see a $20 million transaction in Bitcoin sent with a $40 fee. For money transfer organizations, first off, you will need to explain who you are and why the hell? Why are you transferring $20 million? And then if it goes through, you pay 1 to 5%, between $200,000 and $1 million. Of course, this is theoretical. Not everybody is sending $10 million. It can be negotiated, but still, it is a large fee compared to $40 with crypto. But the question remains, can cryptocurrency and digital currencies coexist in the country?
I think that's a very exciting question, because I find a lot of interest in cryptocurrency and what it has to offer. And this is the whole reason why I got into blockchain in the first place. Cryptocurrency offers a new way of seeing money, controlling money, and interacting with money. Central bank digital currency is just the next form of money, right? So can they both exist? I do believe so. They have different purposes and they have different innovation velocities. The cryptocurrency space, we see that things are moving incredibly fast, and that's why it's so exciting, and that's why it's a little scary and dangerous in some cases if you don't know what you're doing. But on the central bank digital currency side, it's provided by a central bank, which is known for stability and safety. So it will work, and it will be known how it will work, but it won't replace.
That was Imran from Bitt Inc. But the CBN doesn't like crypto.
We don't know these people. We don't understand. Not that we don't understand the product, but it is opaque. You know, for example, no cryptocurrency user today can tell me who is issuing the cryptocurrency itself, right? There's a lot about it that, and obviously, if you read the international news, you will find that quite a few, you know, criminals have resorted to receiving payments in cryptocurrency and all of that. That's not to say that they don't receive it in regular currency as well.
Regular cash.
Yes, but there's a reason, there's an attraction to that. So all we said is that we don't want a product that we do not understand completely and it's opaque in many ways. We don't want it in our financial system. The risk, the volatility of even that asset price as a class of its own, you know, the volatility is so much that if it goes really bad, it could really lead to financial system instability. And so all we said is get out of our financial system, and, you know, until, and again, just as I've always said about Nigeria leading, even though we as Nigerians sometimes don't appreciate this enough, the stance we took has become the dominant stance for central banks all around the world. In fact, even China has gone further than us. And what China has said is, you're just not being kicked out of our financial system. You cannot sell cryptocurrency to a Chinese national. That's even worse than what we have done.
What the CBN is now proposing with the eNaira is for people who are sending money into Nigeria. Again, remittances is one of the highest earners for the country. To buy the eNaira as they are abroad and send it into Nigeria at a much lower price.
Just the way that you're able today to move your Naira from your bank app, say GT, Zenith, Access Bank, Sterling Bank app, into your eNaira wallet, we will make it possible for you to buy eNaira with your dollars. So imagine you have a bank account with, say, Bank of America or JP Morgan, and we're able to link your eNaira wallet to that bank. Then you can just purchase eNaira and send it to your, you know, mom or sibling or whoever needs it. And that dollar you have spent, a bank can help us collate it and put it in our reserves.
While this is cool, unfortunately, this is not yet baked into the existing eNaira system. You can't use the eNaira as cryptocurrency. You can't, you know, the eNaira is not cryptocurrency. And could it help with the costs from these payment services? The idea of compliance is to help with money laundering, aka AML, and countering the finance of terrorism, aka CFT. Everyone who creates an eNaira wallet will be able to be identified by the CBN. The CBN also says it will work with the commercial banks, since right now, to have your eNaira created, you will need to be linked to a commercial bank. I talked about it in a whole review. It's a whole thing. I explained it in my eNaira app review video, which is the previous video. So would it even help?
Largely so, yes, because You know, when you create a wallet, it's like your bank account. Somebody sees your BVN, sees and any monies you're spending. I mean, not that anybody is seated and watching, oh, how much did Fisayo spend? What did he buy? No. But at least in case there is issues to be settled, in case there is a problem, that can be traced and resolved easily. You know, so yes, and obviously every transaction follows AML CFT laid down procedures. So it is markedly different than, say, a cryptocurrency transaction.
Another advantage which I mentioned in the previous video is the fact that it would be cheaper for us. Right now, there's no transaction fee for the eNaira. Of course, it's for a while until they add them, and it's also cheaper for the government because they don't have to print paper money and spend on securing bullion vans. It's just digital money and there's no fake eNaira. It's also another point whereby the government can cut costs and also make some money when it comes to taxes. How exactly does a country make money with digital currencies or CBDCs? According to the president, the CBN's eNaira should help grow the GDP of Nigerian economy by $29 billion in 10 years. And I asked both the CBN and Bitt, how exactly would this happen?
I'll state two examples. So one of them could be increasing trade in neighboring countries that decide to include some interoperability layer across different CBDCs of that region. I think that could increase trade within those regions. But there's also the remittance scenario. And we know that remittances is a huge number, big proportion of the GDP of Nigeria. And we believe that remittances will greatly benefit from that through a reduction of cost and pushing the accessibility of remittance services. For additional points, I would refer you to the CBN.
Just to put that in context, the president's citation came from a very well-researched paper by EFIN, as was used to be funded by the UK government, that deals with financial inclusion. And I believe PwC also helped in that research. So, I mean, credible people. And what they have said is that the adoption of blockchain technology and digital currency together can grow the economy by about $29 billion over 10 years. And I think it's an accurate, maybe even understated estimate. And I'll tell you why. What is economic growth? You studied economics. It's really activity.
Yeah.
So to the extent today, for example, that it is faster and easier and cheaper for me to pay you for services, then if you multiply that faster, cheaper payment of services, that's growth.
Anyway, we discussed his point of view, that's the CBN's point of view, in the previous video, so you can see how it benefits businesses and the economy right there. One key benefit for merchants is that they get more value, that they wouldn't have gotten when it comes to cost.
Start out with the speed that I've just talked about. It's easier, but also the cost. So I don't know if you travel around the world, sometimes you find taxi drivers, when you want to pay them with your credit card, they say, no, give me cash.
Yeah.
Because for each of those payments, Visa,
there is
Mastercard,
a service charge.
Right? I don't begrudge them for charging because I didn't build their platform. But some people think they charge too high. So this will be way cheaper, at least to start with, for a merchant. So in a sense, the merchant, to answer your question, will keep more value from every sale they make. And that's good enough. That reason alone is good enough for them to adopt the eNaira.
All right, the eNaira seems like a fantastic idea, but Fisayo, you can't just be talking about the advantages. There are some things that we should definitely be wary of, right? Thank you guys so much for watching this second part. If you made it this far, you are the real MVPs on the channel. Do drop this eye emoji and let's identify ourselves, fellow MVPs. Also, if you haven't, do check out the first part where I fully review the eNaira app for personal and merchant use. The third part, which comes right after this video, features the problems or the disadvantages, or what you may call the concerns of the eNaira. So make sure you are subscribed and make sure you have notifications turned on. Hit the bell icon beside the subscribe button so it drops in less than 48 hours right after this video. So like this video if you found it useful, drop a comment below if you have any questions, concerns, any comments, and I'll be right there chatting with you guys. All right, I'll see you in the very next one.